What if the future of money no longer needs banks or even governments? What if the same invisible force that keeps planets in orbit, gravity, has now become the model for how wealth moves across the world? Because right now, something extraordinary is happening behind the glowing screens of our financial systems, a transformation so profound that economists are calling it gravity finance. It promises a future where money no longer flows top-down from central powers, but circulates freely, just like gravity pulls everything equally toward its center. But before we can understand how this revolution began, we must first ask the question, why did the old system collapse under its own weight? For centuries, money was simple. It was gold, silver, or something tangible. It had weight. It had presence. Then came the 20th century when global finance detached from reality. In 1971, US President Richard Nixon ended the gold standard, cutting the link between currency and physical value. From that day on, money became an idea, backed not by gold, but by trust. Central banks, using the power of debt and digital accounting, began creating money out of thin air. It was a quiet revolution, a system built on endless expansion, like a universe without gravity. At first, it worked, economies grew, stock markets soared, and the illusion of control held steady. But there was a problem no one wanted to admit. When money has no center of gravity, no anchor, it eventually starts spinning out of control. By the early 2000s, technology stepped into the financial arena. The first decentralized digital currency, Bitcoin, appeared in 2009, a direct response to the global financial crisis. It was a radical idea, a monetary system without a central authority, built on mathematics instead of politics, but Bitcoin was just the spark. What followed was an explosion of blockchain innovation, smart contracts, decentralized finance DeFi, and algorithmic stablecoins. And in 2023, a new term began to emerge in tech finance circles, gravity finance. This wasn't just another blockchain project. It was a conceptual shift, a system designed to create financial equilibrium. Instead of centralized institutions pulling money upward into the hands of a few, gravity finance aimed to pull it downward and outward, evenly distributing opportunity through digital ecosystems. Think of it like this: where central banking works like a pyramid, gravity finance works like a sphere, balanced, decentralized, self-stabilizing. To understand why gravity finance matters, look at what broke the old order. In 2020, the world witnessed the largest money creation event in history. Governments printed trillions of dollars to rescue economies during the pandemic. It was a global flood of liquidity, but also a silent theft of value. By 2022, inflation hit record highs across developed nations. Ordinary citizens paid the price through shrinking savings, rising debt, and collapsing purchasing power. People began asking, if central banks can create money from nothing, why can't we? That question marked the psychological collapse of traditional finance and the beginning of the gravity era. Gravity finance is not one company or coin. It's an ideology, a movement. Built on blockchain infrastructure, it introduces a system of interconnected smart economies that balance value like forces of nature. Here's how it works. Imagine a global web of digital assets, all connected by algorithmic gravitational pulls. Each asset, a coin, a token, a digital property, has a measurable influence based on real economic activity, trade, lending, and community trust. Instead of central banks printing money, gravity finance self-adjusts supply and demand through coded principles, like gravity itself balancing celestial bodies. If one region or network becomes too dominant, the code redistributes liquidity automatically. If one currency loses faith, the gravitational system stabilizes others. It's a financial physics engine designed to prevent collapse by maintaining balance. Of course, not everyone welcomes this new system. Governments and central banks see gravity finance as an existential threat. It challenges their control over currency, the very core of political power. In 2025, major financial institutions began experimenting with central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, their attempt to mimic the efficiency of gravity finance without giving up authority. But here's the twist: CBDCs still rely on central control, while gravity finance runs on mathematical consensus. The battle lines are now clear: centralized trust versus decentralized gravity. Printed money versus programmed value. And history teaches one undeniable truth: Whenever technology empowers the many at the expense of the few, resistance always follows. Already, we can see echoes of this revolution everywhere. By 2024, decentralized finance platforms processed over $200 billion in daily transactions, more than the GDP of many nations. Global debt surpassed $300 trillion, creating gravitational pressure for a new system to emerge. And the fastest-growing demographic in finance today, not bankers, not traders, but coders. The age of money defined by suits and skyscrapers is fading. Now, lines of code define who holds power and who gets left behind. Every great economic transformation followed the same pattern. The agricultural revolution replaced feudal control. The industrial revolution replaced royal monopolies. The digital revolution replaced physical trade with data. Now, the financial gravity revolution is replacing trust-based systems with math-based systems. But history also warns us that every revolution brings chaos before order. When power shifts hands, the old world doesn't surrender quietly. So, what happens next? If gravity finance succeeds, money could become truly borderless, autonomous, and self-stabilizing. But if it fails, we could face the most complex financial collapse in human history. Because when everything is connected, one miscalculation can pull the entire web down. It's the same paradox that governs the universe. The force that keeps us together can also destroy us. 3 lessons you need to remember from the story of gravity finance. Money is no longer printed, it's programmed. The real power now lies with those who understand algorithms, not institutions. Decentralization isn't chaos, it's balance. Gravity finance shows how equality can emerge not from control, but from code. Every empire of money eventually falls. From gold to paper to data, each system believes it will last forever. Until it doesn't, we stand at the edge of the next monetary revolution, where finance finally obeys the laws of nature. The question is not whether the change will come, but whether you'll be ready when gravity pulls the old world down. If this deep dive helped you see the hidden patterns behind our global economy, smash that like button, subscribe to the Financial History, and tell me in the comments. Do you believe gravity finance is the future, or just another illusion of control? Because in the end, the truth, like gravity, always pulls us back to reality.